Woo! I feel real close to y'all.
As I was walking by a family, one of the children said, "Wow, he's fat, super fat."
School was miserable. We got bullied all the time.
The kids at school would tease me because of my size. And some of my earliest memories were feeling so alone.
Today, I want to talk about growing up overweight. And this conversation stemmed from me watching My 600-Pound Life. For some reason, I have not been able to stop watching this series, this show. Hulu sent me a message saying that I could have Hulu for 30 days if I tried it out, and that has been the only thing that I have been watching on Hulu. And when I tell you guys I am hooked on watching this show, and I could not figure out why, but then I began to think, oh my gosh, like my story, and not that I ever got up to 600 pounds, but my story was so, it was just like I can actually see how these people might have got up to 600, 700, 800 pounds. So y'all, when I was born, I wasn't like the smallest thing in the world, but I wasn't the biggest thing in the world. I was 8 pounds 7 ounces when I was born. But so I've always been kind of like a healthy person. I don't think I realized I was overweight until before I moved to my new school, and I would see all the other kids wearing certain things, and I asked my mom, I said, "Mom," I said, "why do I have to wear these grandma clothes and these other girls get to wear, you know, the cute clothes, you know, things that I consider cute?" And my mom looked at me, and I know looking back on it, it was hard for her, but she literally had to sit me down and say, "Listen, you, because of your size, we have to buy you different clothes than everybody else. You won't be able to fit the clothes that they fit, and even if you did, it wouldn't look how it looked on them." So that was the first hard conversation I think I had to have about my weight. I think that's when I kind of realized, okay, I'm not the same size as everybody else. And then it became evidently clear to me that I wasn't the same size as everybody else when I went to my new school, because everybody and their mama pointed it out. Let me tell you, if I didn't know before then, I knew then. So I was bullied, I was teased, and that's often a part of you being different. So that could be anything that you're different with. Like, as I look back on it now, I thought I was the only one being teased, but I was one of many. That my overweight issue was just one of the things that caused me to be bullied and teased. But literally, like, the experience was rough. Like, gym class was so bad. Like, we would go to gym class, and when the teacher would like pick 2 team captains, and they would say, "Oh, you can pick who's gonna be on your team." Y'all, let me tell you, I would dread if I got picked as a team captain, because no one would want to be on my team. I don't think I got picked as team captain that often. I think maybe one time I do remember nobody wanted to be on my team. Nobody wanted me to pick them. You think the worst thing, I used to think the worst thing was not getting picked. I think the worst thing for me was nobody wanted to be on my team. I mean, seriously, and if I picked somebody, they were like, "Well, you better pick," like it was kind of like, "You better pick other good people to make up for your for you." They didn't say that specifically, but it was kind of like some of the comments they made, it was kind of made clear that, okay, we better win. But yeah, that, and along with getting picked last, like nobody wanted me to be on their team because they didn't want to lose. And they thought that me by myself would make the whole team lose. So that was really tough growing up. Another thing was just some of the experiences. Like I said, the whole shopping experience, it was dreadful, y'all. So by the time I got to middle school, I was probably over 200 pounds. So I couldn't shop in the regular girls section. And a lot of the clothes I wore, I felt like they were grandma clothes. I felt like anywhere I went, I felt like I couldn't, like if I was out eating somewhere, I felt like I couldn't eat how I wanted to, because in my mind I'm thinking, these people are thinking, how could she continue to eat at this size? But in my mind, like I said, I'm not gonna go into all the issues that I was going through, but I was going through a lot of stuff in my life, and food had become my comfort. And not saying that because you're overweight that you ate a lot of food. That's just my story. But yeah, I didn't want to eat what I wanted. I didn't want to eat the way that I would feel comfortable. I would just feel highly uncomfortable everywhere I went. Every move I made, it was like somebody was watching me. Somebody was gonna critique me. I think one of the hardest moments in my life was in middle school. We used to do this program where if you read so much, if you got so many hours reading, your parent could sign off and you can go to like Six Flags or some kind of amusement park. So our amusement park was Six Flags, and I just remember one of the most embarrassing moments of my life was getting into a ride and not being able to fit. Like, y'all, terror, like sheer terror. And instead of getting out, I didn't want to face the fact that I couldn't fit in this ride. Like, I'd come all this way, I read all these books and I couldn't fit in the rides. And the guy, he was just kind of looking at me, like the guy who, ran the ride. He was kind of looking at me like, kind of sad, but at the same time, I guess he didn't want to ruin the experience. So this guy, it was like a bar thing. It wouldn't come down. And so he literally took the bar and pressed down so hard on it, y'all. I didn't want to make a scene because I really want this thing to fit. Like, it finally clicked, but when I tell you, so much fear in my head about whether I was gonna fall out this thing, whether this thing was gonna pop loose, all I could think was, oh my gosh, I am so embarrassed. I held up the ride because I couldn't fit a child. There are adults on the ride and a child could not fit on the ride. It was embarrassing. That's what I can say. That's really the gist of it. So I loved amusement parks though. Like, the rides I could fit on, I love them, and the rides I wanted to experience, I didn't get to experience. But just to think that something that I really love to do, I couldn't partake in because of my size, it was really traumatizing for me. Just super traumatizing for me. Another thing was, as I grew older, I thought, okay, maybe, kids will grow out of bullying, teasing. But another experience that I had was and this was when I actually lost weight. I had been overweight and I lost weight before I got to the 8th grade. I lost about 80 pounds. And there was this thing on Facebook that they were doing where you could ask questions. I want to say it was in high school. I don't know. Maybe it was middle school, high school. You could ask questions on Facebook, but they were anonymous. Like, you didn't have to, like, people could submit questions to you, but they could be anonymous. And somebody posted in my inbox, maybe if you push the plate away and stop taking so many diet pills, you could actually lose weight the proper way. Something like that, y'all. I was so taken aback. I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, what child could come up with that? What middle school, high schooler could come up with something like that? The first initial thought was that an adult said it. And I'm like, what adult in my life? So I began to look through my friends list. Oh my gosh, y'all, I was so paranoid. Like, I was so hurt. I was deep down hurt at the comment that had been made towards me, y'all. That traumatized me even more. But not to get too much into that, just to keep this into experiences I had, what life was like growing up overweight. It was just like, every day was hard for me. Every day was hard because just doing normal stuff that normal people did, I didn't want to do. I was scared I wouldn't be able to do it. I was scared I would get out of breath. Playing games in school. I was afraid that, because we did have some older people like in our church that weren't so mindful of what they said because they come from a blunt generation. They would say things to me just in front of everybody, about my weight. It was just like, I was really fearful to go anywhere. I was fearful to be around people. It was just really hard for me. And yeah, like I said, food was my comfort, and I just kind of continued into that, and overweight was hard. I just want to say that I struggled with my weight for a long time. I'm still on a weight loss journey, and it's still hard for me. But one thing I had to do was realize who I was before I could do anything about getting this weight off of me. I know, like I said, some people have medical issues. Some people, have different kind of things that cause them to be overweight. But my issue, like I said, was food. And before I could get that weight off of me, I had to identify some things. I had to identify who I was. I had to tell myself who I was, because I was believing everything. I was fearful. I was, being conditioned to think all these things about myself, that I was less than, that I wasn't pretty, that nobody cared about me, that nobody would ever want me. These were all things that I struggled with as I grew up overweight. My whole entire grade school, for most of the part. Like I said, I lost weight for a couple years, but then I gained it back, and that was even worse experience, to see myself back at square one after I had lost weight. So even for those 2 years where I was able to go to an amusement park and get on a ride and be cool with it, and people actually show interest in me, and then for me to gain it back and to see the attitude change, how people treated me differently than someone else who might have appeared better. So yeah, those were some of my experiences growing up overweight. What are some of your experiences growing up overweight? I know that it's not an easy thing. Like I said, there are so many things that are hard to do while you grow up. Like, any single thing that makes you different it's hard to grow up, especially if you're not being told who you are, and you're lost. So yeah, I just want to share those things. I hope you guys, not want to say you enjoyed this, but just know that, you can overcome the situation. Like, I am in such a better headspace. Even though I went through all the traumatic stuff I went through when I was younger, it has not stayed on me. It has been released from me. So I'm super excited, and I'm glad that I am fighting this even now, but this time is different. I feel it. But yeah, thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.